What is going on, everybody? Fish Productions here, making another video. This is on Google Slides, because of course it is. And we're making a video about what if Spingate never happened? What if Clint Bowyer never spun out on purpose in the 2013 Richmond Cutoff Race for the chase? Now, we're going to get right into it, but first I'd like to say thank you for the suggestion by Brett Ludwig. He said, can you do a similar video to the Carl Edwards one, but it's just what if Spingate never happened? And I'm like, yeah, sure, because Kamikaze Games did one about 5 years ago, but he didn't really, it's not really caught up to present day because it only goes up to like 2016 or something. So we're gonna get into it today. So Clint Bowyer never spins, and Ryan Newman goes on to win the race because it goes caution free the rest of the race. So Ryan Newman gets in the chase because he had 2 wins. Clint Bowyer finishes top 5 in the standings at the end of the season. Jeff Gordon misses the chase, and Truex also misses the chase. And another thing we have to look into here, Martin Truex Jr. still has funding. Napa never leaves him. Okay? So Napa is still around, and instead of going to Chase Elliott for the Xfinity Series, or at the time it was Nationwide Series, that doesn't happen. Martin Truex Jr. still has Napa. So, yeah. So in 2014, MWR looks like this. Clint Bowyer, Brian Vickers, Martin Truex Jr. are your 3 drivers in the seats of the cars. And another thing, Martin Truex Jr., he never goes to the 78. So you have to ask yourself, who goes to the 78? Now, there is a driver at the end of 2013. He didn't know what his plans were, so he just decided to just leave. And in this, I say, how about he goes to the 78? Jeff Burton ends up in the 78 car. And since Chase Elliott is not, he doesn't have the Napa funding, Dale Jr. has to figure out another driver to put in the 9 car in the Xfinity Series. He has all these hot young prospects from the Truck Series to choose from. Now he goes with the 2012 champion. He puts James Buescher in the 9 car. The rest is pretty much the same as how it actually was, but Chase Elliott still gets a few one-off races in the 88 car, but nothing full-time. So 2015 rolls around. Jeff Gordon doesn't retire at the end of 2015. He sticks around. And you ask why? I tell you, there's not a driver lined up for the 24. We all knew Chase Elliott was going to the 20. It was common sense. Everybody knew before it was even announced. And that's why Jeff Gordon decided to retire so early. So here, James Buescher, yeah, he's decent in the Xfinity Series, but he's not ready to move up to Cup just yet. Now, MWR looks like this. Clint Bowyer, Martin Truex Jr., and then Brian Vickers. He starts off the season, but then he has that, I don't really know what it was. He had some sort of health condition. So David Reagan ends up stepping in after, everything happens. Kyle Busch still gets injured, so David Reagan subs then, and for the 55. And the 55, what did Brian Vickers? Brian Vickers ended up leaving the 55 at 10, 12 races in, so that would work out fine. Furniture still Jeff Burton, although he's going to retire at the end of the year. Just because he's getting old and he just doesn't want to race anymore. And his performance in the 78 really, it hasn't been that great. It's just been a 20th place car, and quite a step back from 2013 when Kurt Busch put it in the playoffs. But yeah, so in the Xfinity Series, James Buescher's still in the 9, and Chase Elliott is still running one-off races in the 88 car. And now we move into 2016. Clint Bowyer, David Reagan, Martin Truex Jr. full-time field at MWR. Michael Waltrip, of course, running some one-off races in the 66 car. But the 23 car, because David Reagan, in reality, he actually drove the 23. And it's just going to go to some random back marker. I don't really know who would be the right pick for it. But I know somebody's going to shout at me in the comments, "Hey, you forgot the 23." So here's your disclaimer. I'm not really focused on the back marker teams. But so Jeff Burton retires from Furniture Row. And now who goes to the 78, you may ask? I say Justin Allgaier. H. Scott let him go at the end of the year, at the end of 2015. So he ended up going to the 7 in the Xfinity Series. Now Regan Smith is still in the 7 in this reality. So there's no room for him. So he goes to the 78. H. Scott just, again, same thing with the 23 car, just picks some back marker. And Dale Earnhardt Jr., if you remember, Dale Earnhardt Jr. gets injured about, halfway through the season in 2016. And in reality, it was Alex Bowman and Jeff Gordon sharing the ride. Well, Jeff Gordon, he's still in the 24 car. So, and Alex Bowman, he's still probably a back marker. Heck, he might be in the 51 or the 23. I don't know. Excuse me. But I'd say the drivers who get to share the 88 car are James Buescher and Chase Elliott, the two rookies who need experience in the Cup Series. Kasey Kahne's still in the 5, Jeff Gordon's still in the 24, Jimmy Johnson's still on the 48. Yeah. And in the Xfinity Series, James Buescher's still the full-time driver. And Chase Elliott just one-off races still in the 88. And Jeff Gordon ends up retiring at the end of 2016. So, yeah. In 2017 now, Clint Bowyer and Mark Truex Jr. still in the 15 and 56. Eric Jones goes to the 55 because it's another Toyota team, and that was really the only Toyota team that was open at the time of signing Eric Jones. So Furniture Row is still Justin Allgaier. They don't have an alliance with Toyota or Joe Gibbs or anything yet. Joe Gibbs Racing looks basically identical, except Daniel Suarez ended up getting the 19 because Carl Edwards retired. Yep. So Hendrick Motorsports looks like this. Kasey Kahne in the 5. James Buescher is the guy who replaces Jeff Gordon. He's just a smart pick. He's been in the Xfinity Series for Junior Motorsports for 3 years already. Just move him up. And he's in the 24. Jimmy Johnson in the 48 and Dale Earnhardt Jr. in his final season in the 88. Now at SHR, Kevin Harvick, Dan Kirkpatrick, Greg Biffle goes to the 14 because Clint Bowyer, he's still at Michael Waltrip Racing. He's not going to come over to Stewart Haas when he's having pretty good seasons over at MWR. So Greg Biffle, after being sent out by Roush for basically no reason other than you're taking up space, he goes to Stewart Haas in the 14 car, runs decent. So Kurt Busch still in the 41. And in the Xfinity Series, William Byron gets a 7 car because remember he was doing really good in the Truck Series in 2016, so he gets a 7 car. And Chase Elliott finally gets a full-time ride in the 9 car, and Michael Annett, goes to the 5. And Dale Earnhardt Jr., like I said, he retires. So now the 88 is open for 2018. Here's 2018. Michael Waltrip Racing. Clint Bowyer, Kasey Kahne, after being dumped from the 5, he goes to the 55. And Martin Truex Jr. in the 56. So Michael Waltrip Racing, they're still pretty competitive in 2018. Remember, 2018 was a year where Toyota was still really good. So, yeah. At Furniture Row, Matt Kenseth ends up going to the 78. And finally, the alliance between Furniture Row and Joe Gibbs comes about. Excuse me. As Martin Truex, or not Martin Truex, Eric Jones takes over the 20. So Matt Kenseth has nowhere to go. So he goes to 78, and now there's an alliance. So that actually kind of works out for Kenseth. He's turning it around. He's turning it into a semi-playoff eligible team. So I don't know if they would make the playoffs this year, but they would be close. Joe Gibbs still has Suarez, and they brought over Jones. Hendrick. Now this is the interesting thing. Chase Elliott moves up to the Cup Series, and oh, hello, dog. My dog just came in my room, and James Buescher's still in the 24. Jamie Johnson's still on the 48. William Byron gets the 88 car. And Stewart Haas still basically looks the same, except Eric Almirola comes over to the 10 instead of, well, no one else comes over. It's just Danica leaves. And in Junior Motorsports, basically the same as reality. Justin Allgaier finally goes down to the Xfinity Series on the 7 because Regan Smith he just retired, basically. And, yeah, so, and Tyler Reddick in the 9. 2019, this is interesting. Kasey Kahne retires at the end of 2018, so they have to put someone in the 55. They go with Matt DiBenedetto. And Clint Bowyer, Martin Truex Jr., they're still decent drivers. Truex still probably ends up going off because it's 2019. And Levine Family Racing, one thing to note, they're still a back marker. They never had an alliance with Toyota or JGR because they're just Furniture Row Racing still around. So there's really no reason for JGR to get another ally. But Furniture Row, that being said, Kenseth's still in the 78. He might get a couple wins this year because after all, the ties to Joe Gibbs are probably still they're being more strengthened, you know. Joe Gibbs Racing. My dog just dashed away. Denny Hamlin in the 11, Kyle Busch in the 18. Kurt Busch goes to the 19 because Suarez was not performing to their expectations. So they put Kurt Busch in the car because his contract at SHR was up at the end of the season of 2018 season. And Eric Jones in the 20 car. In the 9, or basically Hendrick is just the same. This is the same except Daniel Suarez just basically seat swapped with Kurt Busch. And Chip Ganassi Racing, since Kurt Busch didn't go to the 1 car, Ross Chastain is at the 1. And now in 2020, this is a big year. Clint Bowyer, Christopher Bell, and Martin Truex Jr. at Michael Waltrip Racing. The 55 team basically just, they put whoever they want every year. They just basically switch drivers every year. It's insane. Clint Bowyer, he's regressing. And Matt Kenseth, still in the 78, decent driver. Joe Gibbs hasn't changed. Hendrick hasn't changed. Stewart Haas hasn't changed, except they put Cole Custer in for Suarez. Suarez goes to Gaunt Brothers. Wood Brothers ends up taking Matt DiBenedetto because Menard still retires. Ganassi stays the same, except Larson gets fired, obviously. So Jamie McMurray is put in the 42. He's back. And drivers retiring after 2020. It's basically just 5 drivers farewell seasons. Clint Bowyer, Matt Kenseth, Greg Biffle, Jimmy Johnson, and Jamie McMurray, they all retire at the same time. So a lot is changing. And that's basically where it leaves us. A lot has changed. MWR is still around. Furniture Row really never developed into what they are. And Chase Elliott never really, developed into his, present day driver. And James Buescher's still around. So thank you guys for watching. I'm going to end the video now. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe if you're new. And leave a suggestion for me to do more of these down below.